Welcome back to the Right Take Report. I hope y'all are having a great day. And we're going to look into Bakari Sellers' claim that the stock market is downturning because of Trump. Once again, we'll see more left-wing narratives, but I won't speak anymore. Let's get right into the video.
He keeps repeating it. He wants Canada to be the 51st state. So why are you asking us to ignore what Trump is saying?
Because you've been watching Trump for 12 years.
And I don't ignore what he says anymore because he tends to do the things that he says.
You got to listen. You got to listen for the signal outside of the noise. He's bombastic. He says outrageous things. But from all that comes an interesting opportunity. In Canada, you've got the United States of America, the largest consumer market on earth, and Canada, the richest country on earth with everything everybody needs every day. You don't have to buy the country, and they're not selling their sovereignty, but if you get an economic union with no tariffs and maybe a common currency and maybe a common passport and maybe something that could be done around making sure that everything is equalized, China will never catch up. And I think that's the opportunity. So even 3 hours ago, before I got here, Ford, who was talking about cutting off electricity, changed his mind. We're in a narrative of negotiation.
Well, I think both sides backed down and they went to the negotiating table, which is, frankly, where they should have been in the first place.
It's kumbaya.
But it's not. It's the problem with that is one. I mean, when I have my good Republican friends at the table, the first thing they like to do is talk about the Biden economy, and I have to remember that if we had a sharp decline in the stock market under Joe Biden, then their hair would be on fire. It would be on Fox News 24/7. They would come in here and tell us that Joe Biden was asleep at the wheel. That's first. The second thing is, while Donald Trump has this uncertainty, and it's not just the uncertainty of the Trump administration, it's also the uncertainty of whether or not you're going to pass a CR, which Mike Johnson was able to do today. It's the uncertainty of what they're going to do next with tariffs, et cetera. But who gets lost in that? It's those people who have 401ks. It's those people who have retirements. I mean, it's those people who have money in the market to save for a rainy day. And so I got a great deal of respect for you. You know more about money than most. But to say that those people aren't being caught up in that whirlwind is just, I mean, that is a fact. While we're gaming out what Donald Trump says, the fact is the market lost his ass, and it's Donald Trump's fault.
You think the market...
All right, let's get something straight here. Markets fluctuate no matter what. And it's not cyclical. It has nothing to do with when a president comes in or when it doesn't, given that there's some short-term implications for that. That's what they simply do. The stock market has been artificially inflated for nearly 2 years now and was long overdue for a correction, regardless of whether it was Biden, Kamala, or Trump who got into the office. No one was crediting Biden when the market was at all-time highs, yet now there's one little downturn and it's suddenly Trump's fault. That is just selective outrage. And let's talk about tariffs. A common punching bag for the left. Yes, tariffs can lead to short-term benefits at the expense of long-term gains, given what their intentions are. However, they are a good negotiating tactic for somebody like China, who is a huge adversary. And we need to negotiate better terms and protect national interest at all costs. Not to mention, Canada, as a neighboring ally, offers opportunities for mutually beneficial trade agreements. We just have to play the back and forth of tariffs for a little while until negotiations can be conducted in a proper way to negate a potential trade war. But blaming Trump for market fluctuations is crazy. You have to recognize the broader economic trends, or you're just intellectually lazy.
Market's going to go down forever?
Well, no, the markets go down and up.
Yeah, but last time we were here,
So you're saying that people have 401ks. You're saying they're having a meltdown. I mean, the market will go up and down, and it will go up. And over time, the United States stock market has done quite well. So, I mean, the president's been acknowledging he's expecting some short-term turbulence in the market, but I wouldn't measure the health of the stock market over a short period of time.
I'm actually measuring the health of the economy, one, especially over the last 3 or 4 weeks since he's been there.
Well, you brought up 401ks. I just wanted to answer that.
But no, and I'm with you. But I can also, I mean, that is a very true sentiment. And actually, there are going to be a lot of people who text me tomorrow and be like, there ain't enough people who have money in the stock market, so it's not an issue that trickles down. So that could be another issue as well. But what I am saying is that the uncertainty, this tariff this morning by the afternoon is off. That is not a way to govern.
Well, I mean, and to the points you guys are talking about, that is directly controlled by the president. So the market will be up, the market will be down, but the president and the way he's going about the tariffs, he's directly influencing the way the market is moving. So the question is not whether or not the market will stay up or down, but whether or not Donald Trump will get consistent on tariffs and his economic plan soon so that people don't have this
I
uncertainty.
also think I'm looking at this from a different perspective for people who actually don't even have 401ks. There's a whole constituency of people who don't have retirement plans, don't have disposable income to buy stocks when they are down, because they are literally living paycheck to paycheck. And many of those individuals voted for Donald Trump. And I don't think you're right, man. What the president is saying is causing instability in the market. Now, last week we were at this table and the market had dipped again, or before, twice last week. And it was like, well, it's one day. Now we're like 3 or 4 days in because of the language. So I think there are some people who will benefit from, probably people like Elon Musk, probably people who have the luxury to not just have a 401k, but have some extra cash on the side to make the most when the market goes down and they can buy stocks. But then there is this whole set of people in middle America, that working class person that doesn't have that luxury, and what is happening to them. And prices are still high. I get it, it's been 6 weeks, but prices are still high. And the social safety net programs that they often use are at risk.
Now, one thing is true, eggs are down. Eggs are now cheaper than they were when Trump came in. Everybody's been whining about eggs.
Eggs are now
so
killing the chicken.
hang
Eggs
on.
are down. Killing the chicken.
I mean, maybe they're down a little bit, but they're
No.
still A, not available.
Look it up.
And B,
Well, we have
they
to grow
still
more
cost-
chickens, but eggs have
They
gotten
still
cheaper.
cost more than $5 a dozen. Okay, but speaking of regular everyday Americans, one of the things that's been going on, in addition to all of this uncertainty, is that the cuts continue to affect real people. Here is the Agriculture Secretary talking about
Before that, it's true that the first 100 days of any presidency, especially under a strong, bold leader like Donald Trump, can cause market instability. Markets will react to uncertainty, so if he says something in the beginning of the morning and then changes it in the afternoon, markets can react. Not to mention they were at all-time highs for the last year and a half and were due for a cutback. And so when you have a market that reacts to uncertainty and a president who shakes up the status quo, people and Wall Street tend to get nervous. But here's the thing. Temporary volatility doesn't mean long-term failure. Strong leadership, like the Trump administration, faces economic headwinds head-on. Instead of managing with weak policy, kind of like the prior administration. Traders will panic, media will put fear into you about the stock market. However, it is nothing to be worried about. And given this downturn and recent swing of things, it's actually going to be better for investors to get in now rather than in an overinflated market. And once people realize the world isn't ending, it will all work out. Let's get to the rest of the video.
$1 billion in cuts to food banks and food programs that benefit United States schools.
USDA cancels $1 billion in local food purchasing for schools and food banks. How do you justify that?
Well, listen, I think it's really important. And of course, the left is doing what the left does. These were COVID era programs. These were additional funds. Right now, from what we are viewing, that program was non-essential, that it was a new program, and that it was an effort by the left to continue spending taxpayer dollars that were not necessary.
Man.
You guys, it is cynical out there when we're talking about kids eating and
That's
politics.
not what that was about.
It was funny. Wasn't funny. During COVID, one of the main things that we all came together to do was to deal with the instability that kids who weren't in schools were going
We're
through.
not at COVID anymore.
I understand
We're not.
that, but if you think that child hunger is an issue of the past,
Always been an issue.
and it's an issue now, so I just don't see how you make a case to the American people, same American people that have been struggling, according to the right, for a couple of years now, that there is anything to be gained by cutting off food
We
to
are
kids.
not in a COVID
That program is
economy.
also one.
I don't think we're cutting enough.
But
I
that
think we should
program is
cut
also one
20%
that
more.
benefits not just the recipients, but also the farmers that are there able
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
purchase from. That's the main reason it's a a Department of Agriculture.
This issue is not going to go away because it's very contentious. But when you cut in any organization, government or private, it's very demoralizing. It's traumatic, and it gets lots of bad press, as we're doing right now. But that's why you cut 20% more. I think Elon's not cutting enough. Cut 20% more.
Before he finishes, the prior argument is classic left-wing surface-level thinking. In terms of $1 billion cut that they're referencing, They see something that looks bad on paper and declare that it's bad without ever even looking into the deeper reality and going 2 to 3 layers deep into any issue. It's always surface level. If a program was expanded during COVID and is no longer necessary, cutting it isn't cruelty, it's common sense. If we need to feed the children, we will come up with a new program, post-COVID program, in order to help them. Just because something that once served a purpose doesn't mean it serves the same purpose now. And let's talk about the child hunger across America argument. The idea that kids are starving is a complete exaggeration. The U.S. has the highest rate of childhood obesity in the entire world, so clearly food access isn't an issue. And some may argue you can have obesity and you can have food deserts or lack of food security, which is true. But there is still access to types of food, even if it's not the healthiest. But the left loves to frame every single budget cut as an attack on the poor and the rich getting richer. But in reality, $1 billion is not too much, and it was a COVID issue, not a big deal.
Now, get your spreadsheet out. These are the names. Whack everybody, and then 20% more, as we do in the private sector every day and have done for 100 years in private equity, and hire back when the organization gels. That way, the demoralization only happens once. You don't want to cut multiple times.
But in that,
more whacking, more whacking.
Let me just, can I explain to you that this is when
You
running...
don't need to explain it to me. I know how it works.
But no, you don't, because
Actually,
when you...
I do. I've done it multiple times.
But yeah, that's in the private sector. And you cannot run...
This is worse than private sector.
You cannot run everyday government the same way you run the...
Fat, dripping with waste government?
I'm not talking about fat dripping with waste government.
What do we
have?
have?
I told you in the South, right now, in red states, do you know the number one cause...
What does this have to do with red or blue?
Can I finish my question? Do you know the number one cause for children underperforming in schools right now?
Bad educators.
No, hungry. As a former
Let me
I'm talking to the wrong guy. My whole career was in education.
That's my point of bringing that up to you.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you had things like the free and reduced lunch program. You had the summer lunch program.
Yes.
You had programs that were expanded so kids could actually... So I'm not arguing with you about your expertise in the private sector, but what I am saying is that a 20% cut or whack, you're cutting from Allendale Fairfax High School and Birmingham High School.
Okay.
You're cutting from places that really matter.
Up the video, blaming Trump for natural market cycles is peak political optimism. Ask a stockbroker, they're not going to agree with you. The stocks, they rise, they fall, and they continue over time. It's not because of one man. However, there can be some short-term fluctuation. And as always, the left always has an obsession over optics and what looks the best in the media, and this does not play with most American citizens who are intelligent voters like we have seen in the last election. Screaming at Elon about cutting cash and doing the wrong things is not going to get you anywhere. Well, that's all I have to say for today. I hope you all have a good one, and tune in to the next video.